Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muliwanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so delighted and so very honored that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. We have three wonderful guests for you today. First up is the author of Hola Amigo, Núria Camahort. And a little bit later on in the show, Kirsten, KB Jensen, will be here with their daughter Anika to celebrate a really great anthology of stories created by teens. Before we invite our guests into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the Power of Picture Book series, written by our friend Ruth Maley. The power of gratitude, unlocking hidden treasures. The power of kindness through the eyes of children. And the power of positivity, the ABCs of a pandemic. These are fantastic books that we know you will love reading with your kids over and over and over. It's a great way to teach kids to always be positive, to always choose to be kind, and to always live gratefully. All three books are Reading with Your Kids certified great reads, and they'd be a great addition to your family library. The Power of Series by Ruth Maley. Join us right now from Bethlehem and the great state of Pennsylvania. Our guest is here today to talk about the beauty of bilingual books, especially one beautiful bilingual book is called Hola Amigo. Please welcome to the show, Núria Camahort. Hey, Núria, how are you?
Hi, good morning, Jed. Thank you. I'm very well. How about you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really excited to speak to you about Hola Amigo and also about bilingual books. Tell us about Hola Amigo, please.
Well, Hola Amigo is the first book I wrote, and it's meant to be, the original idea was because I give Spanish lessons. I do on-site Spanish immersion lessons where I only speak in Spanish. So for different themes in my curriculum, I needed special books, because if you only speak in Spanish, it's not that easy that the kids understand you. So you need to have some resources, some tools. Mm-hmm. And I just could find like maybe 4 or 5 books. And then I have some themes like the feelings, like the family, like animals and habitats, that I didn't find any really engaging books for kids that don't understand Spanish. So I decided to create them. At this moment, I have 3 of them. And, the first one, it's Hola Amigo, it's this one. Mm-hmm. And it is the first theme of my curriculum, which is who am I and how am I feeling? It's typical, how do you feel today? I feel tired, I feel angry, I feel, and why, and situations where we feel that way. And, it has a lot of like big illustrations. By the way, my lessons are for preschoolers.
Tell us, Núria, why do you think it's important for kids to learn different languages?
Well, it's proven that being a bilingual or multicultural or multilingual brain has a lot of other like brain advantages. Like, for example, every time you do a connection between the 2 words, one in your mother tongue and the other one in the new language, then your brain creates a new connection, a new neuron connection. And this is going to help you in understanding so many more things out of your life. Like, for example, it's the same, the humans, we use the same methodology understanding different languages than understanding music, for example, or being able to write music or mathematics. It's really like the way we do connections is the same pattern of thinking than the way you understand mathematics, for example. And the more connections you make in your brain, then the more your brain is going to be like easy to learn more things. This is one. The other one is obvious. It's social. It's mm-hmm. traveling. It's understanding cultures. It's not only the language. It's the way we express ourselves. It's understanding there's, especially for kids, understanding there's another world, right? Another reality and different cultures.
You also mentioning culturally that languages open up ourselves to different cultures and different ways of thinking and perceiving the world. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think that that's a huge benefit.
Oh, yes, it is. It is. It's. I'm laughing because in our family we talk a lot about this. The way we talk, I'm from Barcelona, and the way we talk there is pretty much straight. You know, if you have to tell your kid to not talk while you are talking, because he needs to listen to you. Here in the States, you will hear things like, "Honey, you're not supposed what you should be doing right now," or "Mommy or the teacher is not proud of you at this moment. I know you can do much better." In Spain, we would go like, "Okay, if you don't shut up, I cannot continue reading. Understand?" Oh, this is a big thing that I used it in my lessons. I talk straight. Of course, they don't understand. And I use humor all the time. A lot of humor. Like you would go like, if you ask him what did he understand about the story and he was wrong, you do not say, "Oh, you try it. You did your best." No, you go like, "Oh, come on, no." And they laugh. So I think they get used also to another way of communicating, not only another language, but when I come, they know I'm the funny one. I may even like hit very softly, of course, with the book to hit their heads like, "Oh, you didn't understand anything, right?" And they laugh and they get another whole of it. When I talk about food, which is the last book is also about food, I take this opportunity out of this book. And then I talk about different foods in the world. And then I show pictures of the food where I come from and things like this. And so I think it's awesome. It's awesome because they get to know another person who talks differently, who expresses herself differently. And yeah, there's some funny things that happens to me all day. Like there's a kid that always asks me if I live in a hotel, how do you speak such a good Spanish, or things like this. So you can see he's opening his mind, like, where does she come from? Why is she speaking such a good Spanish? So
it's interesting. I've been performing educational magic shows for over 30 years, and early on in my career, I had a chance to tour Puerto Rico a number of different times and perform in Spanish. And I'm not even close to bilingual. I was able to memorize my show and had a very small vocabulary that I could tap into. But when I was touring the outer, away from the metropolitan area, I was by myself, and I was forcing myself to think in Spanish because I wanted to become more fluent. And I started to notice that when I was thinking in Spanish, I was thinking a little bit differently. And is that something that you experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I experience it in English all the time. Even when I talk to myself, everybody talks to himself, right? So when I talk to myself, sometimes if I'm talking about things that I learned in English, then I talk to myself in English. And the tone that I use is much kinder and softer than the one I would use in Spanish. Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the things, too, I find interesting, and I think it's something that as we're sitting down with our kids and helping them learn Spanish with a book like Hola Amigo, it's fun to help kids understand that we're learning a new language, we're learning this language called Spanish, but we need to understand that the Spanish that is spoken in Spain is a little bit different than the Spanish that's spoken in Mexico, than Costa Rica, and maybe very different than the Spanish spoken in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's really different. I mean, I sometimes have struggles with people from Mexico and Costa Rica and Puerto Rico. They use very different words, expressions, and it's totally different.
Is it possible for a parent who is not fluent in Spanish and maybe doesn't have any Spanish to sit down with Hola Amigo and actually help their kids develop the vocabulary?
Yeah, in fact, that's why I made them bilingual. The first page, it shows an introduction about how to read that book for parents and educators. How should you read that book and why? And it's the first page here. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it explains to you that in the book there's some different tools, immersion tools, like body language, like repetition, like humor. I use a lot of humor because it's proven that when you hear something, you may learn it, but if you wanted to keep it forever, you have to attach an emotion to it. Mm. And humor is the easiest emotion to work with kids, right? Mm-hmm. So it says you have all these tools in this book, and to make it work, you need to read it. It's bilingual, so the mom or the dad or the teacher can read the English part and know what she's going to read about.
Learning a language or a second language or even a third language when a kid is in 3, 4, 5 years old, how does that benefit them when they're older, when they're in high school and college and maybe studying languages?
Well, first, it's the brain development that we talked before. Second thing, very, very, very important, and I've seen it with my kids. When we moved here, the older one was 2 years old, and in 2 weeks he was speaking English, and now he's trilingual and studying a fourth language. And so the way the kids get it is so quick. This is one advantage. The second advantage is that they are not ashamed. You know, the adults, we try to speak and then we feel ashamed. What if I don't pronounce it good? What if they don't understand me? So the kids, they copy and they're there. Mm-hmm. If they fail, they fail. They don't care. And the fact that they don't care, they make it so easy for them to learn. So it's super easy for them.
You know, that talking about not being afraid or embarrassed, I think that's a huge thing. I know there are a lot of people that I know that actually have more Spanish than I do, but they're just very self-conscious and they don't want to take a chance at mispronouncing words and misspeaking. And meanwhile, because I learned Spanish to go on stage and be a clown, and when I made a mistake on stage, it was funny. And so I have no problem going, I make mistakes in Spanish all the time. But that's a big thing. It's that, I don't want to try. I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it's normal. And even when somebody may say to you, oh, you have an accent. Yeah, I do have an accent. I will always have an accent. And the beauty of this accent is that I speak 4 languages, 5 languages. Of course, I have an accent in maybe 2 or 3, and the others are my mother tongues. But you're always going to get that accent. And so what? I mean, we shouldn't be ashamed, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about your bilingual books.
Well, to find out more, they can follow my Instagram account, The Magic of Amigo. Go to my website or Facebook site. And the books can be found in Amazon or in Barnes & Noble and in any library. One thing that I would like to remark is that my whole project, everything, lessons, teaching materials, I also do teaching materials for teachers, and the books, all the benefits go to different organizations working for kids education, mainly. Lately, I've been helping another type of organizations with the Ukraine war and also with COVID.
We've had a wonderful time speaking to the author of Hola Amigo, Núria Camahort. My friend, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. It was great.
Before we invite KB and her daughter Anika into the studio, we want to invite you to connect with us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, at Reading with Your Kids on TikTok. Be sure to check out our Reading with Your Kids page on Pinterest. And of course, if you are on Twitter, we would love for you to connect with us at Jedley Magic. And of course, you are always welcome to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Sign up for our free newsletter and use the contact button at the top of the page to let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we could be doing better. And let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Colorado. Our guests today are a mom and a daughter team. They're here to celebrate two great new books. One is called 1,000 Feelings, and the latest book, it's called Other Realities. Please welcome to the show Kirsten KB Jensen and her daughter Anika Vassen. My friends, how are you?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty wonderful. Anika, I'm going to start with you, since I think I mispronounced your last name, so I do apologize for that. Tell us about Other Realities. What's this book all about?
Other Realities is an anthology of short stories all written by kids who are under the age of 18.
13.
Yes, sorry. But all written by kids who love to write, and it's like just kind of helping kids get better at writing, learn tactics and strategies on it, and a lot of other things, and help them achieve goals about their writing and becoming an author one day.
Sounds really neat. Now, I'm assuming that you also contributed a story to this anthology.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to be honest with you. I think at 12 years old, I wouldn't have known what the word anthology meant. So this is cool. Kirsten, what was the inspiration for this book?
Well, the kids chose the theme for the book. So they chose fantasy versus reality, which was really cool. The inspiration in terms of creating the whole project was actually Anika. So Anika had summer camp lined up for 2020, and it got canceled because of the pandemic. And we were like, what do we do with all these kids? Like, what do we do? Like, their summer camps are being canceled. They have nothing to look forward to. This is so sad. And so I thought, my kid loves writing. Why not actually help foster that by creating a camp and an anthology to explore that? So the kids actually directed the anthology directions for both years, for both books, Their Realities and 1,000 Feelings, and came up with the themes themselves. So that was really cool.
That is really cool. Where did you get that kind of drive to, keep going in the face of adversity?
Well, I've always loved to write since a really young age, and I guess that I saw kind of an opportunity to write more during the pandemic since I didn't have anything else to do. And so my mom knew about that, and she kind of just took matters into her own hands and started the camp. So, yeah. Pretty
cool. Now, how did the camp work? Since I'm assuming that you weren't able to come together, Kirsten, did you all meet virtually and have these Zoom writing sessions or editing sessions?
Yeah, it was all over Zoom. So last session we actually had kids from 5 different time zones, which was really cool. So we had a little bit of snags in terms of figuring out how to get everyone online at the same time, but that was a fun little challenge to figure out, But yeah, we did it all on Zoom. They had individual office hours with a professional editor, who really tried to respect the kids' voices as much as possible. And we had different publishing professionals come in and talk to the kids every week about publishing and writing. And we kind of had them work on different things every week related to the book, which was really fun. So it was all through Zoom and email and, good old-fashioned phone conversations every now and then too. So.
Anika, I'm curious about your contribution to Other Realities. Can you tell us a little bit about the story that you wrote?
The story that I wrote is about a girl who gets an inheritance from her uncle who passed away, which is a house, and at first everything seems nice, but then she just finds some things that seem a bit off about it and explores deeper into the house and finds more about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, kind of sounds a little Stranger Thing kind of feeling to it. Kirsten, I'm curious, were you planning on running an in-person camp, or this just came out of, we got to do something with Anika and the other kids who can't go to camp this year, and so I'm going to step up to the plate and get this thing rolling?
Yeah, I never had an idea of running a camp before the pandemic hit. I never thought I'd be running a camp for kids who wanted to write. Although, once it happened, I realized how amazing it was, and I wanted to keep doing it. But it was just kind of like, I just saw a need in these kids. It just was breaking my heart to see that they had nothing planned for their summers. And I just wanted to help the kids that loved writing find something they were passionate about and an outlet, because it has been such a tough 2 years. Mm-hmm. And for them to go through all this at such a young age.
So, Anika, you also contributed to 1,000 Feelings. Can you tell us a little bit about that book and about your contribution?
That book was the first one. It's kind of the, spark of the second one, I guess. At the time, it was really just kind of an idea, and we didn't really expect there to be a second one, especially since we thought that the pandemic would be ending, but it continued, and we made another one, and it's, again, really just the same thing. There was a camp, a lot of different students. Yeah, and my story was about a woman who discovers that her childhood best friend has gone missing, and as she looks deeper into what happened, she discovers a lot more about what happened, and yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it without spoiling any of it.
Yeah, curious. This really neat. I'm really intrigued. Kirsten, you mentioned the kids were from all over the U.S. and Brazil. How did they find you, or how did you find them?
A lot of it was word of mouth. Some of Anika's friends, were interested in writing and wanted to do the camp with her, and then it kind of grew from there. So they would know other people as well. So last year we had, I didn't realize they were best friends until I mailed the books, because they lived next door to each other. They were, somebody I knew on Facebook, it was their nephew and niece. Anika's got best friends from growing up in Chicago that wanted to write with her. There were other kids that just found out about us from our My Word Publishing email newsletter. So it was a lot of excitement when people found out about it, but it's definitely a best kept secret. And I would like more people to know about it too. So,
well, this is a great way to tell them. I guess the question is, now that it seems, fingers crossed, that the pandemic is just about over, we're getting to the endemic stage now, where we're all going to get it at some point, but it's going to be like a cold. Do you plan to continue offering the camp?
I think we're going to continue, because we're finding that a lot of kids in this age range, especially the, Anika's age, where they're around 12, they're kind of too old for a lot of the programs in the summer that they used to go to. And they may not want to do a summer sleepaway camp, but they may want something to do that's fun in the summer. And so I think there's still a need for it, especially at this age where they're kind of in between, especially the tweens. But yeah, and I also think we're just so excited to work with them. I mean, these kids are so professional. It's shocking. They're so good at what they do. In terms of meeting the deadlines and all that stuff, I was really surprised by, we even had one kid last year who turned in his story, even though he had a concussion from a bike accident, on time. And we were like, you don't have to turn that in on time, but the caliber of kids that we've been working with has made us wanted to continue this program. So I think we will be continuing it for a while.
Yeah. Hey, Anika, I'm curious, do you plan on being a writer when you grow up?
Actually, yes, I do. As I said before, I have really had a passion for writing all of my life, and it's definitely something that I want to do when I grow up, like writing novels. I just really like writing, and it's fun to me, so I definitely would consider it as something I would do in the future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there a particular style of writing that you want to pursue? Are you going to be like the next Stephen King, or romance novels, or what do you think?
I definitely do like horror best. I'm not sure if that will change in the future, but I definitely have a really big interest in writing horror and even like reading or watching it.
You know, Kirsten, I have to tell you, I'm looking at your beautiful, soft-spoken daughter, and to think that she wants to write about horror, it's just one of those things that doesn't compute.
Yeah, well, you should read her stories and Other Realities and A Thousand Feelings. Both of them are pretty gothic, so it's kind of a fun flavor mixed in with all the other stories. Because we've got a pretty good mix of genres, but yeah, Anika loves the psychological horror. She's got a pretty interesting taste.
Kirsten, when you're not running summer camp and helping put together these anthologies, what do you do?
I'm also an author, and I have 2 books out for adults. One of them is called Painting with Fire, another one's A Storm of Stories, and my third is coming out. It's called Love and Other Monsters in the Dark. So I guess writing is in the genes, because we both do that. And then I'm also a publishing consultant with My Word Publishing. So I actually help a lot of adults with their books, and I must say the kids are easier.
Tell me, Kirsten, where can we go to find out more about Other Realities and A Thousand Feelings and more about both of you?
Yeah, so you can find out more about me on My Word Publishing's website, mywordpublishing.com, which also has the class link for the camp if anyone's interested in the camp. We're doing it in 2022 for 12 to 15-year-olds. You can also find Other Realities and A Thousand Feelings on Amazon. They're under the Camp Inc. series. So if you type in Other Realities, the Camp Inc. series, you should be able to find it pretty easily. That's pretty exciting. Anika's still pretty under the radar as a 12-year-old, but you can find out information from her just by reading her book because her bio's in there and her dedication and acknowledgments and all that fun stuff. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
When's the deadline, Kirsten? If people are interested, when do they need to get in touch with you by?
I would recommend getting in touch with me by May 15th for early bird pricing so that they don't have to pay a little bit more. So that would be my recommendation. And the sooner the better, because it does help us plan scholarships for some kids as well. If we have the enough people enrolled, we can actually offer more scholarships. So I appreciate it when people pay early and sign up early.
We've had a great time speaking to one of the authors of Other Realities. It's a book in the Camp Inc. series. Her name is Anika
Srinivasan.
KB, Kirsten, and Anika. Hey, my friends, thank you so very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It was fun.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Sandy Schwartz. Sandy will be returning to the podcast to help us celebrate Earth Day and also to celebrate Sky's search for eco-happiness. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guests, Núria, KB, and Anika. I want to thank our sponsor, Ruth Maley. Please be sure to check out the Power of Picture Book series. Also want to thank my team, Rory, Fatima, Skylar. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.